Hello, and welcome again. Did you like the witch stories? I really like the witch stories. I like the witch stories so much, I'm going to read another one. This one is The Witches Who Came to Stay. Did they stay at your house? I hope not. The Witches Who Came to Stay by Steele. Once upon a time there were 3 wicked witches who all went to sea in a ship full of holes. The ship's mast was an upturned broomstick, and instead of a flag there were tattered streamers of seaweed. As soon as the ship set sail, the sky turned yellow and filled with big black clouds. A storm came whirling across the bay, tossing the spray up into the wind, but the ship sped on and on, scudding over the waves like a cormorant. A cormorant's a black bird that can swim really well. And if you had listened carefully above the howling wind, you might have heard the wicked witches singing to themselves. Sea snakes, jellyfish, octopi and smelly fish, Skellingtons and Wellingtons, 40 fathoms deep. It's a strange song, but it's a witch's song. The wicked witches cackled with glee and then peered through their telescopes. Land ahoy! Land ahoy! The ship sped on and on towards a little island on the horizon. Granite Island was a lonely place, especially during an autumn storm. Fergus the fisherman pulled his boat high onto the beach and went home to his little stone cottage. What an evening, he said to himself as he barred the door behind him. Why, it must be nearly Halloween. He put a big black kettle on the fire and pulled off his boots. Outside the storm was raging and waves were crashing against the sea wall, and Fergus could hear them crash, splash, splosh. It was at times like this he wished he didn't live all on his own. And just then, and Fergus heard a knock at the door. Or was it simply a loose plank banging on the wind? Was that rain splattering on the window pane, or maybe the scrabble of long fingernails? And was that the sound of the wind or someone singing? Skellingtons and Wellingtons, 40 fathoms deep. Fergus shivered. Then he strode across to the door and flung it open. In tumbled a bedraggled brood of witches who fell on the floor in a big heap. Who the devil are you? Thundered Fergus. A thin witch with knobbly knees untangled herself, and she pulled on her black hat, which was dripping wet. I am Big Nose, a wicked witch, she said. A very wicked witch indeed. I can turn you into a sea slug just like that. She snapped her bony fingers. A big fat witch with 15 double chins. That's 13 more than me. She was next to get to her feet, and she carried a large carpet bag. I am Freshface. An even wickeder witch, said she, and I can turn you into an archoperetix. Fergus didn't know what an archoperetix, or whatever it was, is, but he didn't like the sound of it at all. Still, he put a brave face on it, and he pulled up the third witch by a scarlet shawl. And which witch are you? He demanded. Which witch? Which witch? Are you mocking me? The third one turned towards him, and she had the most beautiful face Fergus had ever seen. Her long red hair was tangled of curls, and her eyes were as blue as the summer sea. Because if you're mocking me, she went on, I shall turn you into driftwood and burn you on my fire. My name is Belladonna. 3 witches in your front room, all at once. I'm glad I'm not Fergus. and I've come to stay here for Halloween with my aunties, Fish Face and Big Nose." "Oh, you have you? And who invited you?" Fergus was furious, but all three witches stared at him sternly, and he had no desire at all to be frizzled and fried, or turned into some creepy crawly. All right, he added quickly. "You can stay, but only for Halloween, mind you." "Agreed," snapped Big Nose. "Now, we three are very tired, so we'll all be off to bed. And, in the meantime, I suggest you prepare our breakfast for tomorrow," added Fishface. Fergus cursed his luck. Witches to stay. They'd cause all sorts of trouble, and where was he supposed to sleep? Here in the chair, I guess. "Yes," said Fishface and Big Nose. "Indeed, you can sleep in the chair, because we're going to sleep in your bed." Belladonna was very beautiful, it was true, but wasn't if she wanted to make firewood out of him. What was Fergus to do? The night passed by, and Fergus dozed fitfully by the fire. The wind was still moaning around the cottage as the firelight flickered, and Fergus caught sight of a book sticking out of Fishface's carpet bag. He carefully pulled it out and looked at the cover. It was called Every Witch's Handbook of Practical Spells. He turned the pages with growing excitement. After half an hour, Fergus pulled on his boots and slipped out of the front door. He returned around dawn, his pockets bulging with odds and ends, which he'd emptied out on the table. There was a crab's claw, a dollop of tar, some clammy seaweed, and a smelly old fishbone. Pooh-wee! What was he up to? The next day the witches woke up to a delicious smell of cooking, sunshine pouring in through the door. "Breakfast time, wicked witches," called Fergus. "Tasty pies to start the day." "Well, this is nice," said Big Nose, and gobbled up her pie in 2 mouthfuls. "Yum, yum," she said, smacking her lips greedily. "That was very tasty indeed." "Maybe we won't turn you into a sea slugger after all," croaked Fishface, and gobbled up hers. "Not until the holiday's over," explained Belladonna, and smiled icily as she bit into her pie. Suddenly the witches looked a little pale. Big Nose was growing a yellow beak and squawking like a gull. Fishface was turning into a plump porpoise before their very eyes. "Shoot, shoot," laughed Fergus. The gull flew out of the front door away over the sea, and Fergus picked up the porpoise and threw it over the seawall, and away it swam. Belladonna was white with rage. She started muttering spells, but Fergus just stood there chuckling. "What have you done, you oaf?" said Belladonna, stamping her foot. "I have used your little book to make some magic potions," replied Fergus, "and now you can have a taste of your own medicine. Your wicked aunties have been turned into animals for a year and a day, and that should teach them better manners." Well, it would, wouldn't it? If you were turned into a porpoise for a year and a day, you would never be bad again after that, would you? "But what about me?" wailed Belladonna. "You have just swallowed a love potion and will love me as long as you live." And so she had, and so she did, in fact. Fergus and Belladonna were married the very next day. Fergus was never lonely again, and Belladonna, well, and he, Belladonna and Fergus, well, they was very much in love, and sometimes Bella still tried out new spells, but she never ever wanted to turn Fergus into firewood, and sometimes when the autumn gales blew, they could see a little black boat with a broomstick mast bob over the horizon, and in the wind they could hear snatches of the song about skeletons under the sea. But Fishface and Big Nose never came to stay again. They had learned their lesson well. I like the ending to that one, and I really like the song that they sang. Sea snakes and jellyfish, octopi and smelly fish, skeletons and Wellingtons, 40 fathoms deep. They never came back. Did you enjoy that? I hope so. Until the next time, kiddlies. Mwah. Bye.